Right, we're going to recap on what we've read so far in the Mousehole Cat. So we have a listen. At the far end of England, a land of rocks and moorland stretches itself out into the blue-green sea. Between its high headlands lie tiny sheltering harbours where the fishing boats hide when the winter storms are blowing. One of these harbours is so small and the entrance between its great stone breakwaters is so narrow that fishermen called it the Mousehole. The people who lived in the cottages around the harbour grew fond of the name and they call their village Mousehole to this day. They say it's in the Cornish way, Mousel, but you may say it as you choose. Once there lived in the village a cat whose name was Mouser. She had an old cottage with a window overlooking the harbour, an old patchwork cushion and a rocking chair and an old fisherman named Tom. Mouser had had many kittens in her time, but they had all grown up and left home. Her eldest son kept the inn on the quayside. It was noisy and smoky, and his man had once spilled beer on Mouser's head as he was drawing a pint, so he did not go there very often. One of her daughters kept the shop on the corner. It was busy and crowded, and her lady had once stepped on Mouser's tail as she was weighing out some vegetables, so she did not go there very often either. Sometimes Mouser felt that the children had not trained their people properly. Her own pet, old Tom, was very well behaved. He never spilled the cream when he was filling her saucer. He always stoked the range to a beautiful golden glow. He rocked the rocking chair at just the right speed. He knew the exact spot behind her left ear where Mouser liked to be tickled. What was more, he never wasted his time drawing pints of beer or weighing out vegetables. When he was not looking after Mouser, he passed the day in the most useful way possible. He took his little boat through the narrow opening between the great breakwaters out into the blue-green sea and caught fish for Mouser's dinner. Look at that lovely illustration there of the green-blue sea. And here we have Tom and Mouser cooking. Mouser's favourite food of fish. Mouser was very partial to a plate of fresh fish. In fact, she never ate anything else, but she liked a little variety. So on Mondays they made morgie broth, Mouser's favourite fish stew. On Tuesdays they baked hake and topped it with golden mashed potatoes. On Wednesdays they cooked kedgeree with delicious smoked ling. On Thursdays they grilled fairmaids, a mouth-watering meal. On Fridays they fried launces with a knob of butter and a squeeze of lemon. On Saturdays they soused scad with vinegar and onions. And on Sundays they made stargazy pie with prime pilchards in pastry. And all in all, Mouser's day passed very pleasantly. So we're going to stop there. I know we've already read to that page, but I just wanted to do a full recap. And what I want you to do now, is to think about what has happened so far in the book. Okay, what have we learned so far? So who is Tom? Who is Mouser? Where do they live? What do they like? So thinking about them key questions and using what you've listened to and read, what can you tell me about Tom? What can you tell me about Mouser? And what can you tell me about where they live? Okay, so I just want you to have a couple of minutes there thinking about that, thinking about what you found out so far. And now I'm going to explain to you the activity we'll be doing today. So we're going to be using points and evidence, okay? We have done this in class a number of times. Okay, so point and evidence is where we use the book to work out different statements, okay? So what we're going to do first is sort these statements into true or false, okay? So if you look, I've split my page and I've done true and false columns, okay? So let's look at the following statements. Mouser enjoyed eating fish. So from what we've read and listened to, would we say that is true or false? Okay, I am going to say true because in the book it tells us that Mouser is partial to fish and she doesn't eat anything other than fish. So we definitely know that that statement is true. So that is going to go into our true column. Okay, right, our next statement. Mouser lives in a caravan. So in the book, has it told us that Mouser lives in a caravan? See, I don't agree with that one, because if we look back to the book, it tells us that Mouser lives in a little cottage by the harbour. So that piece of information is false. So I'm going to put that into my false column. Our last statement is Tom is a fisherman. So do we know if that's true or false? So let's think back to the book. Let's have a little look and see what it tells us on the very first page. So if we look here, it tells us she had an old cottage with a window overlooking the harbour, an old rocking chair with patchwork cushions, and an old fisherman named Tom. So that statement is true. Tom is a fisherman. Okay? So what we've done there is we've sorted out statements into true or false. Okay? What we're going to do next is look at another way of using point and evidence. So what I've done here is I've put a point, okay? So Mouser's daughter lived in a shop. What you need to do from that point is in the book, find the evidence that tells you that Mouser's daughter lived in a shop. So I've done it here. I did cover it here, but the way I've evidenced it is that in the book it says, in the book, it says, and here I've done a direct reference from the book. As you can see, I've copied the exact words from the book. So in the book, it says that one of her daughters kept the shop on the corner. That is the evidence that supports that point, okay? And that's what you need to do today. I don't want you to just put any evidence. I want you to use the exact evidence from the book that is telling you that, yeah, Mouser's daughter does live in a shop. We know that because in the book it states this statement, okay? And then some of you, I want you to think about your own points, telling me your own opinion of the book, okay? So I've put Mouser had children. I can say this because in the book it states that Mouser had many kittens in her time, okay? So what I want you to do is you're going to either be sorting true or false statements out. And whilst you're sorting them out, I want you to think about why they're true or why they're false, okay? Some of you, I want you to use the point and evidence method. So I will have given you a point. And then I want you to think about what has been said in the book, what you've listened to, what you've read, and what evidence supports that point. What tells you that that point is true? And then some of you, I would like you to come up with your own opinions of the book. So you're going to give me an opinion. So my opinion was that Mouser had children, okay? And I have put why I can say that is true, because what the text is telling me. So you might have an opinion that Mouser doesn't like people that aren't trained properly. What tells you in the book that that is true about Mouser? Why can you give that opinion, okay? So your tasks are explained on the sheet, okay? So please have a look at what I want you to do, and good luck, Acorns, and keep up the hard work.